Julius II was known as the Warrior Pope. In 1503, when he was elected, he was 60, but still full of vim and vigor, and was quick to say that he preferred a sword to a book. Most of his 10 years in office were to be spent using the sword, waging what he called holy wars, in which the enemy was excommunicated. In his first holy war, the enemy was Venice. The Republic of Venice had seized some of the cities that belonged to the Papal State, and Pope Julius was determined to recover them. Needing help, he called upon the rulers in Europe to join him in a holy league against Venice. The members, each with an eye on something to be gained for himself, were Julius II, Louis XII of France, Maximilian the Emperor, and Ferdinand of Aragon. By the fall of 1505, war was going well. The Pope had captured and was making a triumphant entry into the city of Bologna. With all its pomp and glory, this might well have been an old Roman triumph in the hero Julius Caesar himself, instead of his papal namesake. Magnificent in a gold and purple cape sparkling with jewels, Pope Julius II entered Bologna, carried shoulder high in a chair of state. Preceded by his cavalry, his men-at-arms, his military band, officers, and cardinals, he was followed by archbishops, bishops, and the papal guard of Swiss from the Vatican. They had, or were soon to have, gorgeous red and yellow uniforms designed by Michelangelo, who was now one of the artists employed by the Pope to beautify Rome. Pope Julius II, though he had no use for books, took an active interest in art and architecture, and was to make Rome what Florence had once been, the center of the Renaissance. He sent for Michelangelo, who had returned to Florence, and ordered him to design a tomb for him more colossal than any before built. The excited sculptor drew plans, hurried off to the quarry to select the marble, sent back mountains of it, and began his work, much to the joy and wonder of the Pope, who then changed his mind. Michelangelo, frustrated and outraged, blamed the architect Bramante, who had persuaded the Pope to undertake a still more gigantic project. This was the rebuilding of St. Peter's. The little old church of St. Peter's, built by Constantine, was now over 1,000 years old and tumbling into ruin. Bramante's plan called for a tremendous new church to be topped by a huge dome copied after the one on the old Roman Pantheon, a grandiose scheme that would take over 150 years to complete. On April 18, 1506, Pope Julius II laid the cornerstone. Michelangelo, in a rage, had then fled to Florence, but after much urging he came back, and to his dismay was then ordered to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. This was a barn-like hall built in 1473 by the Pope's uncle, Pope Sixtus IV. The walls had already been decorated by Botticelli and other artists. To paint the high vaulted ceiling was an almost superhuman task. Michelangelo, too ill-tempered and nervous to tolerate a helper, erected a scaffold and did it alone, lying on his back, sleeping in his clothes, stopping only to eat. He began in May 1508. In October 1512, the scaffold was down and the hall opened to the public, who gazed up in blank amazement. There above them, covering the great vault, they saw the story of Genesis, shown in heroic figures filled with passion and emotion, surrounded by prophets and sibyls. About this time, a younger painter, Raphael, as charming and handsome as he was talented, came to Rome and soon became the favorite painter of Julius II, though Michelangelo condemned young Raphael as being no more than a clever imitator. Raphael's first painting was a mural for the room, or in Italian, stanza, in the Vatican where the Pope signed pardons. After that, he decorated a series of rooms in the palace now known as the Stanzas of Raphael.